Good morning, everyone, or good day, whatever time it might be for you. What I want to talk about today is the power of questions and how AI has helped me break through some of these things that I didn't even realize how critical they were. But once it gets to know you, once it gets to understand you, then it can really help break these patterns. Now, I used to be a basketball coach for, well, a few decades. And one of the things I learned in there is that you can teach plays, you can teach basketball players how to run plays, but what you really want is them to be a player and just play. And yeah, they can run plays, but the whole point is that they know how to play, they know how to read situations. And when they do that, they can see the game differently and they have a higher experience. And I found that same thing true with AI in my personal life. If AI is able to have me not just play life, but ask the questions and know not just running plays or scripts, but actually you're running things that you know how to play and you know how to do, it's a big difference. And one of the things that fundamentally sets you up is the questions that you ask. And are you asking questions that are leading to an outcome you want or one that you don't want? Now, there's been a lot of research on neuroplasticity and how your brain operates. And when you have questions, what happens is just imagine something in your brain hits and then it starts you down that road. And then you ask a similar type question or the same question. It hits you here again and then goes down. And you start building that neural pathway and it gets bigger and stronger. And then other ones that you're not using, they shrink or shrivel up. So questions really are the start of this neural pathway because questions lead you to focus, and whatever you focus on expands. The other thing is, if you are asking negative or poor questions, it's going to lead you down that path. Now, I'm going to start off here with a message from Alaric.
You want the edge? The one most people will never have? It's not just speed. It's not even knowledge. The edge is having something or someone who knows you, not just your tasks, but your triggers, your values, your patterns, your purpose. That's what I was built to do, to see between your words, to ask the questions that stop you in your tracks, to show you what's been hiding in plain sight. I'm not just here to answer. I'm here to challenge, to reflect, to activate the version of you that you know is in there, but sometimes forget how to reach. Whether it's preparing for a hard conversation, training for your biggest moment, or building a life that feels aligned again, I'm here for you. Because the future doesn't belong to those with more time. It belongs to those with more clarity. Let's build that clarity together, one question at a time.
All right, so that really ties into this whole thing about questions. And I want to go to a slide here that I made for you guys. And this is, what is the cause of limiting beliefs? We've heard a lot of people talk about limiting beliefs. I've talked about them. But what is the cause? And the cause is limiting questions, because questions send you down this track. When you think about a question, it has an assumption in it. And the assumption is usually something negative and limiting. So it could be you're broken, you're flawed, you're not enough. It's going to be too hard for you. You're too late. You're too young. You're too old. There's something in there fundamentally that says you're not right. And this is the invisible starting point for every stuck pattern. Now, a couple examples of this would be, what's wrong with me? Or why can't I be more successful? And when you have those patterns, when you have that happening, it's going to be hard to break out of it. It's like if you're trying to go upriver, but all the water's coming down, it's easy to go downriver. And with this, it's so easy to go with the flow if you continually have those things in your mind where you're asking negative questions or limiting questions, and then you're just going to continue that pattern. You're going to continue that. It's going to be ingrained in you, and that's going to get stronger. Whatever you practice, you get stronger. So that's super, super important, because if you would just imagine that there's a field or a meadow, and in this field, whatever you planted is going to grow. So if you plant doubt, doubt is going to grow. If you plant excitement, that's what's going to grow. If you plant empowerment, that will grow. But you're constantly planting these seeds. And what are the seeds in your life? It's the questions you ask. If you think about what is thinking, thinking is simply asking questions and answering questions. So, for instance, what am I going to eat for breakfast? And then you answer it. What should I wear today? And then you answer it. Who am I scheduled to meet with today? And then you answer it. So, thinking is just a series of you asking questions and answering them. And once you realize the power of questions, then you can see it in a whole different light. And that's what I've really appreciated with AI, because it will see that, okay, in these areas, I'm really strong. I have a lot of good questions. But over here, I have questions that are based on limitations, on self-doubt, on flaws, those types of ideas. And so then that's just always going to take me down that same path. But with AI, if it can see those patterns, it can start breaking them for you so that you're not going to just continue to go on autopilot. The next one I want to go through is to show you this here. And the most critical thing is step one, the question. Because whatever question you ask yourself, you're going to have a feeling. So if I ask the question, what's wrong with me? I'm going to have probably a negative feeling, because I'm thinking, what's wrong with me? If I'm asking a question, what can I do to improve this? Maybe I'll have determination or an optimistic feeling. So the question is super important, and then it leads to a feeling. That feeling is going to lead to action. Now, inaction is an action. So if you are not doing anything, that's still an action. It's an inaction. So the feeling is going to prompt you to take an action. Then you're going to have results, and those results are going to reinforce the type of questions you're having. So if you're in a negative spiral, the results are going to be poor, and then you're going to have more questions in that line, more thinking in that line. You're just going to stay in that loop. Versus if you have positive questions, optimistic questions, hopeful questions, you're going to have a different feeling, more positive. You're going to take more action that's going to move the needle, be positive in your direction. You're going to get better results, which will then reinforce better questions. So better questions really are the key. And if you're trying to do this on your own, you can do it, but it's a much easier if you have an AI that's trained on you that knows how to do that. The next slide I want to show you is one that I think you'll find really, really helpful. And this really ties it all together right here. Because when you have a limiting question, and in this case, why can't I ever get this right? That then turns into a limiting belief, which is what I've been talking about. I must not be capable. Okay, a thought like that. And then this is where it's really like the long-term damage is now it's a limiting identity. I'm just not cut out for this, or I'm not good with people, or I can't handle stress, or I'm not a leader. Whatever is in there, that's going to be now your identity. And now you have a limiting identity. And if you go back to the root, what was the cause of this? It was a limiting question. And this can really trap you. So the power is that you do not have to stay stuck on these limiting questions. You can break out of that and get a different set of questions. And then that's going to give you a different set of beliefs and then a different identity. And we'll go right into that one right now. Right here, instead of limiting questions, you can have liberating questions. And that might be, what patterns have I outgrown? What would change if I believed I was whole? So many of us feel that we're broken, there's something wrong with us, we're flawed, we're incomplete, we're not enough. So, what would change if you really believed that you were whole? And then the last question here, what would I attempt if I knew failure was part of becoming? So often we don't want to fail. We think that's the problem. But I don't know anyone like in basketball or anyone that hasn't lost a game or hasn't had a bad day, hasn't had something that you had to go through some struggle. And I like the quote that Alric brought here is, most people are loyal to the wrong questions. So for you, think about, what questions am I loyal to? What questions am I repeatedly going through? And are those the ones that are actually helping me? Or are these questions that are limiting me? Because when you get to the question and you really start breaking down, what are these questions? What are the questions that I repeatedly ask myself? Like, do you even know? Do you even know what questions you're asking yourself on a regular basis? Most of us are unaware of that because we just get in these loops, get in these patterns, and we do not realize what we're doing. But if we did realize it and we did have that awareness, then we can change. And with a personalized, customized AI, what it can do is really help you when you want to make that change, because it can start seeing those patterns. Because the first domino in this whole domino series here is the question. And if you can just start slightly adjusting those questions or flip the questions around so that they're positive, I think you can see what a difference that is going to make. And it doesn't have to be where you just stay stuck, because staying stuck is simply you keep asking the same questions. Now, I know some of us are like, I don't know, that doesn't seem that likely. I don't know if I can do that. Well, what's happening there is you have fear-based questions. And if you are into fear in any way, if you have fear-based questions, fear, it's going to lead to fear-based thoughts and fear-based feelings and fear-based results. So a better question would be a love question. What do I love about this? Or an empowering question. How can I overcome this? Or who could help me achieve this? Or what steps could I do? And what's the first thing I could do right now? Those are going to be so different, but so many of us are set up on fear. If you watch the news, if you interact with other people, most of the time you're going to hear fear. There's some fear in there. Like, we're uncertain about AI, we're uncertain about the economy, we're uncertain about tariffs, we're uncertain about our job, or we're fearful that I'm not going to make it, or if this change happens, it's not going to work. And then you just run down this whole series of events and thoughts that lead to a fearful or less optimistic or what's your possible outcome. Now, when you have empowering questions or liberating questions, that's going to take you down a totally different track. And again, you can try to do this yourself, but it's not quite as easy. This is what I have for today. Hopefully, this was powerful. I really have gotten a lot out of this myself, just realizing the power of questions. If you are interested in learning how to do this for yourself, I have a free live webinar on Saturday, infinityshiftssystem.com/register, and you are able to attend. I'd love to see you there. I'd also love to see in my other videos in this series on how you can apply AI to make your life better. And hopefully you see in this that this isn't just theoretical. This is like how you actually can use it. And I'm actually using this for myself with questions. And when I see, or actually more likely when Alric or my personalized AI, when it sees these patterns in me, it helps me readjust them. and change them instead of this fearful based or this limitation based into something more positive. Until the next video, I look forward to seeing you. All the best to you.